Hey guys, so we're back again. It's Brad from Injured Gadgets, and I got our one-handed spot welder, fresh stock ends, and everybody wanted to see what it looks like. So you can see no power cables here, internal battery. You'll have USB A and C here on the side here for charging in and out. Power button, long press for off, long press for on, and some arrows left and right to change your gear settings, power settings. It will go higher than 2, but you won't use anything over 1 and 2 when spot welding the BMS. So I want to show you guys the probe here. You're only going to get one, so this is a one-handed setup. Probe tip is very fine point, so that's very important and unique to this setup. It provides a lot of benefit and efficiency because the surface area is really small when you're spot welding the BMS. So it's very important and unique to this design. I want to go straight into a couple of demonstrations. I'm going to grab a piece of nickel here. It's just going to be folded directly over itself, and I'm going to set it directly on top of the welding post here, which aids into the one-handed design. So it just allows you to use one probe here. So with the probe plugged into the side, we'll begin to apply the probe tip and a small amount of pressure to the surface area right directly above the welding post. That'll complete the circuit and successfully complete the spot weld. So once you spot weld in one area, you'll just create a row of welds across the surface area that you have. And you'll see that they're very strong. This is just gear setting 1, and I can't pull them apart. So I want to give you guys a demonstration as well, how efficient it can be on the lowest setting, but I usually use gear 2. And I just want to give you guys a welding technique and method here. So when you apply the welds, you just want to lift straight up and straight over. You just want to apply the welds in a row directly beside each other. So just lifting up, coming over, and lifting straight down. You'll hear the audible beep and see the little fume, and that'll indicate that the weld is complete. So you can see how clean these welds are. When using the proper technique, you won't get any arcing, you won't get any blowouts, you won't need to get any holes blown through, and the welds are very, very strong. So just as before, I couldn't pull it apart on gear 1. Gear 2 is definitely going to be strong enough for you guys. It's not going to give you any issues when folding the BMS back up against itself and trying to wrap it back up. So just a little more actual demonstration about what it's going to look like when welding the BMS. This little mechanism here is a spring-loaded mechanism. So on most models, you'll just brace the BMS up against the welding post, and that'll just allow the welding tab to fold at a 90-degree angle directly on top of that welding post. And typically this is the orientation that you would use, but starting with the iPhone 12s and above, they flip the flex on the other side. So when welding, typically you have the battery upside down, so we're just going to have the BMS on the opposite side of the post, so we won't have a spring-loaded mechanism to hold it in place, but we'll just use the battery to brace it up against the post and get it aligned. So once we have it aligned in between the welding tab, we'll just begin to apply the welding tip probe to this area, and at the furthest edge we'll begin to weld, and just lifting straight up and coming straight over, we'll apply 4 welds on the surface area. And we'll either apply a second row of welds, or you can just weld directly on top of the previous welds, but we'll add a second row, just creating 8 clean welds. And you'll see the little bit of discoloration here on this one weld. That's because I began to lift quickly and a little bit too early, but it wasn't too early that it began to cause enough of an arc that it blew a hole out, but you have to be very careful and make sure that you don't lift too quickly. So we'll just slide the BMS and cell over so that we can align the next lead onto the welding post. And then we'll, in the same technique and method as before, we'll just begin to apply the probe tip. You can see it's very fine point, so it gives you plenty of room when welding. This nice zoomed in viewpoint gives you an idea about how well this welding tip works on this repair. So you can see that just applying a small amount of pressure and just making contact with the probe tip to the surface area, you'll see the puff of fume of smoke and the audible beep. So we'll just apply 8 welds just as before. Pull test to make sure that they're very secure. You can see that these welds are going to withstand any amount of stress when folding these tabs back over and folding the BMS back up. So I've shown you guys some previous videos. Make sure you go back and check those out about how to remove these BMS properly, get them cleaned up and prepped. But again, once you have all that technique down, you'll have the tapes provided and get it all clean and wrapped up, looking ready for a fresh install for your customer. So I appreciate you guys. While we go over this demonstration, we got plenty of stock in, so run on over to the website and grab them all up. Thanks for shopping with Gadgets. See you next time.